All right, let's call this meeting to order. Meeting of the Finance Committee for Stephenson County, circulated Monday, June 16, 2025 at 12 noon. Our first item after call to order is prayer. I would ask Mr. Jogers if he would pray for us.
Dear Heavenly Father, we just thank you for the opportunity to serve the residents of Stevens County. We just ask you to help us through this agenda, help us make good decisions for the county and what's best for that. And we just thank you for a beautiful day. We just ask you for some rain, nothing too crazy, but we just ask you for some rain, Lord. We just, with that, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. I would entertain a motion to approve this agenda. I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Review and approval of meeting minutes from May 12th, 2025. What's your pleasure, committee?
Motion to approve?
I have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of claims. We have claims from the Finance Committee in the amount of $562,830.24 in cash requirements, manuals of $738,000, $758,868 for a total of $1,301,588.92. I have a motion to approve those.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion on the claims? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We also have claims from the health department this month that we need to address. Cash requirements of $75,974.66, manuals of $4,398.36 for a total of $80,373.02. What is the committee's pleasure for that? Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
I have a motion to approve. May I hear a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the health department committee claims? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I will be sending the sheet around for the approval of the Finance Committee. I don't think we need to sign anything for the Health Department. Right?
That's the surplus properties, so that's coming up later.
Oh, this is the property.
Yeah.
Where's the? It's on the bottom. Sorry. Just trying to remember everybody get a sign. Everybody's got to sign this. Okay. Do we need to sign this one too? That's got to go back to health committee to sign it. I guess if we approved it.
Yeah, I would
We
assume
better
you
sign.
approved it, you sign.
Okay. That's the property sale. All right, moving on. We have 6.0 public comments. You see a plethora of people from the public here today, but nobody wants to make a comment, so we will keep going. Diamond Brothers. Carrie, you have the floor.
Good afternoon. I think on your screens, you should have the packet that I sent out. I'm gonna go through it quickly. There's really not much update, really. It's a whole bunch of things that you've already seen, starting on page 2. Just a reminder, the premiums coverages that were approved last fall, nothing's changed there. I'm gonna flip through that page pretty quickly. Page 3 shows your policy period starts on 12/1, goes 12 to 11/30. So from 12/1 of 2024 through to late last week, on there is the property casualty and work comp claims that are out there. Looking pretty good, nothing really too earth-shattering on that regard. In the middle is a summary of what the 56,000 in total claims are what they are. There was a significant, half of it almost is a auto accident. The other 2 bigger portions are reserves for a couple of public officials claims and then some work comp claims. On the bottom of that page, page 3, are what I presented last time in March. So they've ticked up a little bit. Nothing out of the ordinary or too surprising. Any questions on that?
Looks good.
I'm gonna skip over page 4. We all know the history of, I'm gonna switch gears now and talk about benefits. I'm gonna skip over page 4 unless you have questions. As you know, last year, we changed the deductibles. Going now, I'm on page 5. The bottom of page 5 is a good overview of what plans we have in place on the benefit side. We have $1,000 PPO, $2,500 PPO, and then 2 HSA plans listed there. Any questions on that? Just a reminder here. Page 6 is what I want to spend a little bit of time on. It is the premiums paid versus claims paid, where we are at year to date through April. So you can see the history there. Premiums paid on the left, claims paid on the right. The deficit surplus year to date through April is about $3.1 million, almost 3.2. Still running pretty hot and heavy, whatever the word is you want to look for. So if you recall, over the past several years, we have been trying to increase little by little the employee deductibles to kind of shift that to make it more reflective of the healthcare marketplace. That is helping. So if you look there on the bottom of that first table, if we never made the changes of increasing the deductibles slightly, the cost would be more. So this is a progression and it is a longer term journey. And I can tell you that a lot of my benefits clients were doing the same thing. Kind of getting away from those lower deductibles, getting towards the higher deductibles, and also giving employees tools to help manage their healthcare, helping them get engaged and communicate and educated in terms of shopping around, using all the tools out there, the telemedicine, the GoodRx apps, et cetera, et cetera. Again, this isn't going to change anytime soon, but we are kind of chipping away at some of that. The bottom table there just shows the average membership, the split between employees and dependents for the totals. So we are around 425 lives insured through April. Any questions on that? Page 7 is really just a more detailed view of page 6. 6 was a summary. Page 7 is more detailed. You can see, again, the premiums for the last rolling 12 months. So May of last year through April of this year, premiums paid and medical and pharmacy claims paid and what the loss ratio is there. So it is pretty indicative of years past. No big surprises there. I think I sent you guys maybe a month or so, 6 weeks ago, the summary of the wellness screenings we did, which was hopefully eye-opening to a lot of people. So we want to continue doing that. Again, getting them more engaged and educated on their healthcare is how we move the needle. That's really all I have. Open up for anything on your mind, questions, discussion. I'm happy to talk about it.
Carrie, how does our track record, our history, and the changes we've made, how does that compare to other organizations that you serve?
It's indicative overall for fully insured groups, which is what we are. Pretty average. It really depends on the employee population. The employee population tends to be a little bit younger. It's a more healthy, so you don't see as high of loss ratios. If it tends to be on the older side, you'll see what you're seeing. I think the big thing overall in the marketplace I see is a lot of chronic conditions cost a lot of money, and a lot of, you never know what year the group is going to have a cancer or something higher. I don't want to say catastrophic, that's not the right word. More expensive type treatments. In general, the marketplace is seeing two, three huge trends. One, GLP-1s, which is the weight loss drugs and diabetic control drugs. Carriers are seeing a huge spike in the cost of that. My personal opinion is, yes, they're gonna see the spike. Yes, you'll see it short term. But I believe that hopefully in the next 3 to 5 years, you're going to see less chronic conditions as a result of the weight loss. So, if someone's lost weight, they maybe won't be as dependent on the diabetic meds, won't be as dependent on the heart medications, the statins, the blood pressure meds. My personal opinion is I hope that comes down. It's never a bad thing when someone loses weight, right? And if we look at a lot of the chronic conditions in the population, it has to do with weight and exercise. So if there's drugs out there that can help, I think it's a good thing. We are seeing a spike right now. So that's the kind of excuse that the healthcare or the carriers are telling us, hey, huge spike in GLP-1s. The other big driver of costs are there's a lot of technology out there with new drugs coming on the market every day in helping with cancers, helping with these high dollar cost conditions, which are great, but the cost of meds are huge. So again, you're gonna see that increase, hopefully in the next 3 to 5 years, that will come down. Again, anecdotal evidence on my part, just my opinion and what I see. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Getting back to one more thing, I'll shift gears on the property casualty side. I've got a report here. It's too detailed for it to go through it line by line, but ICRMT, who is your property casualty carrier, has performed 43 visits from 12/1 of last year until last week.
Is that the IPMG report?
Yeah.
You sent?
Yes. So they do a really great job at helping the department heads with whatever they need them.
Yeah, it looks like.
There's a lot of support given to the sheriff's department, the maintenance department, and the nursing home is getting engaged there. So those are the 3 big ones that I always like to see. That Mark Bell is our loss control rep for the county. He does a fantastic job. Like I said, he's spent, between him and his team, they've visited and touched things for the county 43 times in the last 6 months, 7 months, which is fantastic.
Is everybody familiar with the report she's talking about?
I didn't send it out. I
Well, it
didn't
was a
send it to
separate one that
everyone.
Georgia sent. I've got it right
Oh,
here.
she does?
Yeah,
Okay.
the
Does it look
spreadsheet.
like this?
Yeah.
Great. Just be real careful with the distribution on that. I don't want that to be sent out in the world. But yeah, I would encourage you guys to just scan that. There's some really good stuff in there.
Georgia sent it to
Was it with the
Finance
agenda?
Committee. Where is it? Oh, no, you sent it. You sent it to Georgia. Oh, I'm bad. I gotta forward that. I see what happened here. I assume that went to the committee. My apologies, everyone. But you guys should all at least have this.
Have a look at that. You can see all of the things that ICRMT does for the county, which is great. And I know that Mark has presented to the department heads, and so, it's not only a push, but it's a pull too. So it's a really good partnership that we think is really, really paying off. And then the only other thing I will mention is there was a property walkthrough a while back where the loss control rep, Georgia, and someone else kind of looked at a lot of the property and were reconciling the property schedule with some of the things that are out in the county. And I think it was discovered maybe 1 or 2 things have fallen through the cracks in that. There's a couple of landings or parks we need to add to the schedule. We'll have minimal, negligible impact on anything. We just need to make sure that it's accurate. So we're working on that.
Super. Yeah, I just sent that out to everybody. My apologies. I assumed that went out to everybody. I need to look at the actual list. I have 2 questions. One's more of an opinion, getting your opinion on something, and then 2, well, what's your take on MAHA and how that's going to affect things? Is that on the insurance circles? Is that causing any, like the whole effort that they're putting forward at the federal government level to make America healthy again? Is that, you're going to see any impact out of that? Any thoughts on that?
I have no thoughts on that.
Okay.
I kind of a wait and see.
Just curious. I didn't know if there was anything behind the scenes. that's
Not that
going
I'm
on.
aware of. Again, in my opinion, I'll give, and I beat this drum every time, is it's really, the more local you can impact, the better.
Yeah.
Big, huge nationwide mandates, again, my opinion, it's a double-edged sword, I guess. The biggest thing that we will see in the healthcare industry is getting people to understand spend and how much it really does cost for healthcare, and using tools that are out there. When you're in a fully insured group, generally speaking, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. You pay your premiums, everything else is kind of invisible and it's paid for, but you're really paying it. When I move a fully insured group to a self-insured, the light bulb kind of goes on. Even though you're fully insured, what fully insured means is you know exactly what your spend is, and it's going to be high because the health insurance company is going to get their premiums. When you move to self-insured, it really is eye-opening because you see the claims that you are writing checks for versus just writing the monthly premium spend. So if there's any way we can get that pendulum to swing from fully insured to self-insured, meaning you have more control, that's going to move the needle because you are very visible to what's being paid. And, I'll give a quick example. I have a group, it's about 100 employees, and one person got an MRI for their knee at this location, one person had an MRI at this location. This bill was $4,400, this one was $1,300. And they're like, it's an MRI. And so you have that visibility. So when you don't have that visibility, it's just gonna keep getting paid. And that's kind of the gist of the insurance
You can start
carriers.
creating your own contracts, you can have different providers if you
Yes.
want, and that kind of stuff, so. There's some advantages to that.
Very much so.
What's your opinion on the impact if we did move forward with the sale of the nursing home?
Well, I think we've talked about that, the impact of the insurance premiums. I can look it up and resend it out, but that'll cut your insurance premiums by a lot.
Well, there's a savings there, I just want everybody.
Very much a huge savings. I don't want to throw out a bad number, but I'll send you that. I'll look it up when I can. And
I'm gonna say it's at least 400.
That's what I'm thinking.
I think you're close. Yeah, I would guess 30-40%.
Any other questions? Okay. There you go. Thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for having the meeting at noon. I vote for noon.
Hopefully we can do this again sometime. No.
Yeah, thank
Well,
you
you
all.
can thank my employer for this, because I got to head to St. Paul right after this, and so the committee was gracious enough to meet at this time, so I'm very thankful.
And I will say to the committee, if there's any time you ever have a question, please email me, call me. Happy to help.
Thank you.
Yep.
So the county administrator left a report. Let's see, contracts are working on zoning and building director, going to committee for approval of EMA director next month. Liability and risk, Mr. Bell came into the county, which is on that report I just sent you. Facilities maintenance, thank you to Sheriff Stovall. The truck has had licenses changed and insurance has been notified. Mr. Remmers was able to purchase a trailer, store equipment, picked up the mower on June 9th, so that's going on. Chairman Helms, Ms. Henning, and Georgia met to go over items identified during our liability walkthroughs, so they're working through that. Department head meeting, ICRMT, labor law conference upcoming for fleet management, and budget policy, proposed changes, apparently they went through that and stuff, so. GFP, they had monthly board meeting at 6/25/25. Chairman Helms and Georgia met with Andrea Schultz-Winter on June 6th. Any comments on that, Mr. Chairman, since you're just walking back in?
Most of what she and I discussed on Friday was discussed, not Friday, yes, it was Friday, was discussed at planning and development following Monday, so.
Anything on the YMCA thing, meeting from June 10th?
So I'm sure everybody probably knows the YMCA is moving out of Highland. Their contract expires, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I think it's either 2027 for one part of it and 2030 on the other, but they have purchased or in the process of purchasing Stewart West. And they'll be moving over there. They're going to be adding a pool. I think it's going to be approximately a 12 to 24 month project before they're over there. But Highland has other plans for the space that the Y occupied. So it's a good move for both. I think they're looking at doubling their child care availability, and it's really pretty low. I thought it was more than what it is, but it's currently about 150 now, and they're only looking to go up to about 300. But that takes significant overhead, a lot of moving parts to be able to have that. But they're also looking at renting out space at Stewart West to like-minded organizations that would help with what the Y supplies to the community. So
Cool.
yeah, they're just looking for potential grants. I offered letters of support for them if they needed that from the county board. Of course, they would have to come before the county board to make sure that we're all in favor of that. But yeah, it seems like it's a positive move overall.
Sounds like. Super. Thank you, sir. All right, with that, then finance director.
Oh, I'll make a comment on that. Report was the lawnmower. Big discussion last meeting was the warranty. So it turned out to be a 5-year warranty, so we're all good. So I'm just passing that on. Someone's worried about that.
Yeah. Thank you. All right, Madam Finance Director, you have the floor.
Okay. First item, the revenue and expense budget comparison report. Just keep in mind that those funds that receive tax dollars, it will look like revenues are down. The first distribution will be in July, so you'll see those numbers drastically changed in that month. The only other item I wanted to bring up was the county coroner fund. That's Fund 28. The chairman mentioned, or just had a question about the revenues there. So the major source of funding for that fund is the public safety fund. So each year, we initiate a transfer from public safety to the county coroner fund. That had not been done yet. It is usually done in June. So I went ahead and initiated that transfer. I don't think the new coroner is aware of that transfer. So you'll see those revenue numbers kind of even out next month. Moving on to an audit update. The nursing center's accounts payable is the final piece of the puzzle for the audit. The treasurer and I have been communicating with Sikich, getting them everything that they need. So as far as we are aware, they do have everything they need at this point. So now we wait. Hopefully we'll have reports in front of us next month. Fingers crossed. Does anybody have any questions about the audit? Move on.
No, I did have a quick question on the income side.
Yes.
From the report. When I look at the state income tax, 1% sales tax, 0.25% sales tax, it looks to me like all three of those are running a little bit behind. Am I missing something there? Or at least the state income tax portion of that.
In the general fund only?
Yes.
Okay, because there are other funds that do receive the income tax portion, the
Okay.
capital fund also receives, so I imagine the treasurer fulfilled that requirement first,
Gotcha. Before
And
we
then-
did it here.
yeah.
Okay.
and then the remainder will probably go to the general fund.
Gotcha. That makes more sense. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so one other thing I wanted to mention, I heard that there were some questions about the state multiplier and assessed values. So I have some information that I wanted to pass out to the committee. So this is an article that was a press release that was published on illinois.gov. Just outlining basically what the state multiplier does, if it impacts your real estate taxes, that type of thing. This is another article that the treasurer found that kind of explains everything, just for informational purposes. So just to provide a little bit of a timeline. So the county provides their levy request in November. The county board passes that levy. It goes to the county clerk's office. She compiles all of the taxing districts in the county to see what dollar amount they are requesting. Then the state decides if our assessed value is in line with what it should be. I know the assessor mentioned that magic percentage of 33 1/3. If it is not, then they assess a multiplier. So here, let me pass this around. So this is a tax computation report. So this includes the levy. This is the amount that we requested. This is the amount that we are getting. That does not change when the state multiplier comes into play. So I just wanted to make it clear that we're not gonna get some big tax dollar windfall this year. We are getting about $700 more than what we asked for.
So where do those dollars that are added to my tax bill with the multiplier
Yeah, no kidding.
go?
So the multiplier has to be assessed or put on the tax bill because the assessed value is too low to reach the amount that the taxing districts are asking for. So let's say we're asking for $10 million. The assessed value is here, it needs to be here. So that multiplier is put on the tax bill, and then the tax rate in correlation goes down. So you only get $10 million. There's pieces of the equation that get you to the amount that the taxing districts are requesting.
But that, then what we should be doing is going to all of the taxing districts that are increasing their levies and saying, no, you don't, you shouldn't be doing that because that's an automatic tax increase on a property owner when you put the multiplier on there.
But as you can see from the articles, it doesn't necessarily change what you're owing.
It does, the multiplier's in there.
But I understand what you're saying, but there's a correlation to the tax rate. And I'm gonna pass around my personal tax bill.
Well, I have that too.
Yeah, so you see the tax rate from last year to this year drastically dropped.
But
I'm just
paying-
wanted
but I'm
to
paying
clarify.
significantly more dollars in taxes than I paid
Right,
last
me
year.
too.
So that's BS, then that we're just.
But I
playing
just
money
wanted to
games
make
here.
sure that everybody was aware that the county is not getting more money than was requested. We are
You're
only
getting-
getting the $10 million that we requested.
I want a school tax rate of 4.73607. That's probably good.
That one district compared to all the other districts in the county is way out of line.
The one here?
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
That's
completely.
horrible.
I don't understand how it got there either. I don't understand the history of that. I've been digging into it a little bit when I got time. Me and Brother Jack are gonna have a discussion on that. Anyway, that's beside the point. Thank you for trying to explain this. I think the takeaway I have from this is that it's too darn complicated. You gotta be a stinking accountant to figure it out. And a property owner is not ever gonna be able to look at this and go,
I agree.
at least 90% of the property owners, are never gonna be able to figure this out. And it's not right. It's not the way it should be set up. Now, how you change it at this point, I don't know.
But the same thing
I don't
is
think
with our tax bill. Unless you sit down and do
Right.
the math,
Right.
you don't know how much that multiplier increased your taxes. You don't know.
I had a few calls about the tax. I said, you have to call the courthouse. I called the assessor. I can't help you.
Yeah, I got a clue either.
One of them said their tax bill went up 250%. I don't know. I didn't look at it.
Wow.
I find that hard to believe.
I found it a
Right.
lot really too. But
Do you remember their name?
Well, a quarter say,
El Porter.
taxes went up 250% when they meant $250.
Yeah, he lives on, I think he said lives on Hans Drive.
Okay.
No, mine went up darn near 10%, about 8%. last year, not 250.
Mine went up because I didn't turn my whatever I get for being old. Or, well, I did get turned, that did get that turned, but senior freeze, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I turned that in
So
and they
you're the
adjusted
reason we're
it.
all paying more.
Oh, gotcha.
To make up for
And I appreciate it.
That is a factor,
Oh,
for
we
sure.
could be here all day talking about this. But
Yes.
thank you for trying to make it a little bit more.
Thank you, man.
What effect can we, and I'll ask you this, Mr. Chairman, since you've been at this longer than me, can we have on this, if any, to push back or to try and reduce it? I mean, outside of selling the nursing home and getting that $500,000 off the books, what else, is there anything else we can do as a board, as a finance committee to start driving this the other way somehow, to save some money for people, for property
Well,
owners
you
in this county?
first of all have to identify what's statutorily required, what is not. Right, so the nursing home is not, and I'm only saying that because you brought that up.
Thank you.
I'm not aware of, off the top of my mind, anything else that we oversee that is not statutorily required. I mean, one of the issues that we're going to be having coming up will be with animal control, which is statutorily required.
Right.
The health department, statutorily required. And what's the largest expense we have as a county? It's payroll.
Yeah.
So
When you say statutorily required, that's a state statute?
we're required to have public safety, we're required to have road maintenance,
Right.
animal control, health department, everybody over in the courthouse, a treasurer, a circuit clerk, a county clerk, an assessor, all statutorily required. Now, you could outsource, I suppose, potentially. You could consolidate with other counties, potentially. But payroll is your largest expense, bar none.
Well, what
And
you said,
property expenses,
what
upkeep
you
of
said right
property.
there, though, when you think about it from the standpoint of being a somewhat smaller county, I mean, we're a little bigger than a couple of the counties around us. Maybe there is some benefit in that, like, because we were talking about the context of the nursing home at one point, how the trend is moving toward multi-site companies where they can create an economies of scale that works better for the people, for the institutions. And is there anything statutorily that prevents us from doing something like that?
No, you're required to provide the service.
So if
That's
we
the
were
key.
to combine with Carol and Joe Davies and Lee or whatever, that's a possibility of
It
this,
is.
that they
And
were
so-
open to.
I meet with the chairs of Carroll and Joe Davis County once a month, and they're all about having Stephenson County take over a lot of their duties for them, for sure.
As long as they're willing to share the expense. I don't
Very
see why
little.
that would be.
Yeah.
For his.
That's
Very low, less than 33%. Because they just don't have the funding to do it either.
right.
And it all comes back to the same thing. What's the largest tax taker in any county?
Be an interesting
Schools.
study. Right.
Pardon?
To look at. Well, you got some extra time in your hands, don't you? You can look into that.
Keep them too hard.
Pretty busy guy.
Our park
Hey,
district,
thank you. I'm just kidding.
Our-
He knows that.
our park district takes a pretty good chunk too, I think.
In town, yes.
Or,
Yes. In the city.
doesn't come free either.
Yeah, I didn't think about it. Yeah, I don't know how anybody lives in the city with the sewer bills and the, all the stuff, the other stuff that you gotta pay.
I mean, everybody knows how much the tax bill is Stevenson County, right? Right? How much of your bill is coming from Stevenson County?
Very low.
Probably 10%.
It's around 10%.
Yeah, it's not even,
It's-
not much.
But if you look at outside of school districts, it's up there.
Yeah. Yeah. that's
It's,
true.
it's not one of the lowest.
No.
And I'm not saying it should be or it shouldn't be, but there's a big space between the school district and the county, but we're right up there. A little more than 10.
Well, looking at the school district's budget, there's some stuff in there that I just, anyway. We need to move on, so let's move on. So, next, on your agenda, Madam Finance Director.
That's all I had. I'm gonna discuss the budget policy a little bit later.
Okay. And treasurer's report, I think, she sent one out, so if anybody has any questions, certainly direct those to Stephanie. Old business, new business, approve the fiscal year administrative 26 budget policy. You're back.
All right. So we discussed the changes previously. Those are all highlighted. Nothing has changed in that regard, but I also added a section on page 8 that addressed personnel requests. Last year, I think during the budget process, there was a lot of questions about, is this supposed to be a supplemental request? Do we put it in our budget? Do we leave it out of our budget and just say it in the committee meeting? So I just wanted to clarify that personnel requests are for increases outside of the COLA increase. There has to be a justification. The department head needs to calculate IMRF and social security costs. And then there should be 2 scenarios. There should be without that increase and with the increase in the overall impact of their budget. So their oversight committee can see both scenarios. And then the other change is to the budget calendar. It talked a lot about distributing budget worksheets, that type of thing. So we don't do that anymore. So we just talked about teams and how we distribute the budget as a whole now. So just kind of a little bit of a cleanup. So those are the only additional changes that were included.
Well, I would entertain a motion to approve the budget policy as presented. I have a motion. Do I hear a second? And a second. Any discussion on these changes?
I have a question. I'm not sure now is the correct time for it, but last year while we were going through the budget process, I felt like we struggled to balance it, essentially. We were working on each department, passing them one at a time, and then we get down to the bottom and it's like, wait a minute, we don't, that's not the number we need. So it seems to me like we need to be working a little bit backwards of that. And I think, Mr. Chairman, you talked about that was done at one time and then we kind of got away from it. But
I don't know if it was ever done. Revenue is tougher. We don't get those numbers until later.
Yes.
I guess my question today is, does something like that need to go into the budget policy that we're talking about today? Or is that something we could do when we get more into the budget process?
So I if I may, I think the general fund is a whole different animal because there are so many departments that are funded by those revenues. I consult with all of the department heads who supply revenues to the general fund, court costs, state's attorney, probation, treasurer, county clerk, assessor, all of those departments. So they give me their best guess about what revenues will be generated in the coming year. Then we also have taxes, tax revenue, income tax and sales tax. So the treasurer and I work with that. We also have personal property replacement tax. So that's been distributed differently in years past. So all of those pieces, we kind of have to see what our need is first before we finalize all of those revenues that we can move around if needed. And especially with real estate taxes, we can adjust our levies. So we can give more to the general fund and less to liability if needed, or, less to another department or more to another department. If there are road projects that need to be completed, you can give more to highway and less to the general fund. There's a lot of fluctuation that can happen just based on our need, but we need to know kind of the expense side first to kind of go back and move the puzzle around if we need to. I hope that makes sense. So I understand what you're saying, that we see all of these expenses and you just go through and approve them and without seeing the other side of it. But like I said, general fund is just drastically different than the other funds where you see revenues in, expenses out, bottom line, done.
Make sense?
It clears, but
Yeah, I don't know how
but that's okay.
how do you get around that? It's like my tax bill I paid today.
We'll work through
Okay.
it more at the time.
we have a motion and a second.
Mr.
Any
Chairman,
other
can I ask a
thoughts?
quick
Yes.
question? So the COLA is 4%.
Mhm.
Have you done a calculation yet to see how much more increase in expense we'll have from payroll across the board at 4%, plus with IMRF and Social Security?
It's tough because of, I can give you a rough estimate.
I mean, carving out any
Right.
collective bargaining.
Right.
Yeah.
That's tough. I would have to go through each department and kind of get their payroll and divide it out.
Can you do that by next month?
Yeah, oh, for sure, for sure.
Maybe report back to this committee.
Yes,
Thanks.
yeah.
Get that.
It's
And
gonna be
we,
a big number.
right, we chose the 4% just because that's what unions are getting.
All right. So we have motion second. Any other discussion on the 2026 budget policy? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. So we got a sale of the surplus property. This is parcel number 18143141003, 911 South Walnut Avenue, Freeport, vacant lot since 2017. County has been a trustee since 2018. Last time any property taxes were paid was on 2010, and it was sold for $835. So I would entertain a motion to accept this as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other thoughts? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Please be aware we'll be sending over a sign sheet for everybody to sign off on that as well. All right, lastly, chair reports. I really don't have anything. I think so far everything seems to be going okay with the budget this year. It's nice to have a budget process in place for next year and timeline. Hopefully everybody gets a chance to look at the timeline that's presented in the budget policy. I think that makes a lot of sense, the way Adrian's got that laid out. So he's going to be sending budgets out in this month to start
Yes.
the process. So we will be getting back into that process, mutual pronto, along with the whole audit thing. So I think that's all I got on that. So anything from administration?
It was a pretty quiet meeting, actually, except for IT manager, always got a big list. So I don't know if I should go through that or not, but, as you all know, the courtroom, county boardroom has been updated. We've got the new voting machine system in there. We're gonna find out about that Wednesday night at 6. He started the another phone project, or the phone project. And then we talked a little bit about the copier installation with Access Systems. Again, there were some hiccups, but I think everything's going okay now. I think there was some installation issues and things like that, so I think most of the bugs are fixed. Yeah, we saved $100,000 with that, going with them, but we did also cost a little more work, but I think we're all good in the end here, so. Nate it's got about 10 machines left to do on the CrowdStrike conversion. He's not sure if he's got to update those or not because they may be retired, but that's just about done. And then he's finishing up the testing of the health department server upgrades and rolling them out next week. And then he's still doing some final updates on the Windows 11. So that one's pretty well done as well. That was the main gist of the meeting, I think. There was something I'm forgetting, Steve. So I think that was about it. I think Jasmine did have one. She had sent some voter notifications out in the mail, and there was some issues about them getting bounced back. And so she was working with the post office trying to figure out why they were getting bounced back and things like that. But I think she had that well under control. So I think that's it.
All right, thank you, sir.
Yep.
Nursing Center.
Okay, so Marcos gave his monthly report along with the matrix report for billing. There's 2 teams that are doing the billing, the AR cleanup and then the billing side. The AR cleanup is actually done. So that will come probably more in detail next month. Census today is 46. Serenity Estates was present at the meeting and they were able to speak to the committee They will be at the board meeting on Wednesday. After the meeting, they did do a walkthrough of the facility with Marcos, the maintenance director, and Miss Newcomer, and that went very long and very good. Other than that, I just encourage everybody to bring questions and stuff to Wednesday night meeting.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's interesting. Did everybody get the report? I thought Georgia sent everybody a copy of that, the matrix report. On the
It came
detail.
from Marcos.
Yes.
Was it? Yeah.
Marcos sent it out.
Yeah, it's just, we're getting a lot more detail at least, so at least some of the shoe art. Anyway, public property and safety. Nobody's here? Anybody want to comment on that? Anything?
There's an RFP put out for a solar field out at the jail. Try to see if we can utilize some of that vacant land out there for something, lease payment.
Sure.
It'll hopefully be a community solar project, which we could subscribe to. And get power for the jail. If you ever go through the claims and you look at the expense that we have for electric, it's not the highest by any means, but it's several $1,000s a month just about everywhere. What else? I think that may have been it. Who else is on that committee? Nobody from here, I guess. That was, I think, the gist of it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Court services?
Court services, we approved a justice improvement grant. We approved a software renewal for border protection. And we approved a collaboration between our probation system and the centers for juvenile MRT. They work with the young kids to try and get them back on the right path, try and show them what decisions they're making that are wrong and how to change their behaviors. That's where they all begin.
Okay. Thank you.
Now, I was looking at the property and safety. There was one other big item was that approval of ordinance for the impounding. No biggie. Is that going to the board?
And I'm the one that asked for that to be done.
No, that's fine. I just saw that.
Yes, that will be up for approval on
I was thinking of
Wednesday.
it going to the board. Okay.
So we currently have the ability to impound vehicles, but we're not charging a fee for the individual to get their car back.
You're bull.
Pardon me,
BS.
we are not charging an impound
I got charged a fee for a motorcycle that got stolen.
by maybe whoever picked it up at the county or whoever
County didn't.
The county had it impounded, that's where I had to go to get it.
That could be, but the county didn't charge you.
Okay. I can't argue with that.
Well, I can guarantee you didn't, but anyway, the whole point of it is the reason why I want there to be a fee from the county is because they're arresting people for not having valid driver's license and no insurance, giving them a ticket and letting them drive away in the car. And I don't want those people driving on our
No,
roads.
they should not be driving.
Because I don't want them to hit you. I don't want them to hit me. I don't want them to hit anybody.
Right.
They have no insurance. So I want it to be punitive. If you're going to do that, you should have to pay to get your vehicle back. And hopefully it's a deterrent, right? I mean, that's where I'm at with it.
Exactly.
You're not going to make a ton of money on it. But if you're driving with no valid driver's license, even if you have insurance, the insurance won't pay for it. So if a car is picked up now, they can keep it. Now, if they call it tow company, Albers, let's just use that because that's the only one I can think of off the top of my mind. They're going to charge you a fee, I'm sure. They're probably going to charge you storage and everything else. But now the county will have the ability to charge $350 fee on top of that if they impound the vehicle, which in conversations I've had with the sheriff's office, I'm saying, please impound these vehicles if they're driving with no valid driver's license or insurance.
It's absurd if they don't impound. There's no way they should let them drive away.
Well, then they just go, even if they did, they could just go pick it up and leave, pay whatever you had to pay for a motorcycle being impounded, a couple $100, whatever, depending on how long it takes for you to pick it up, because there's storage too.
Right.
But
I'm thinking, how can you legally do that?
legally do what?
Let them go. You're letting them drive without a license.
There's nothing in our ordinance that says that they can't keep
Yeah,
it.
that doesn't make any sense.
That's why that's being changed.
It's like letting the drunk driver go.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, here's a ticket,
Where?
but just go ahead. Just go home.
Yeah.
Where are they gonna store these vehicles?
Whoever picks
so
it up.
crazy.
Whoever picks it up.
Okay,
Yeah,
The
so.
county's not gonna get a wrecker and go
Okay, so
pick
then-
these things
They're
up.
not gonna store them.
You're gonna call it.
We're not
Well,
storing
that's what, I've never had a
We're
Cabiola permit, so I have no idea
We're
where
not
you
storing
even,
it yet.
like, okay, so,
That's not our problem.
Uh,
Don't break the law and it'll never impact you.
okay.
Moving on, planning and development, anything?
Again, I thought it was interesting, as we were talking about employment in Stephenson County this past month in March or April, there were 760 people in our county seeking employment. There were 852 job postings. Those averaged $26.52 an hour.
That is pretty interesting, isn't it?
Yes, it is. The other thing we're working on is the approval of the amendment to include more space in the enterprise zone out at Savencia Cheese. They're already out there, but they have 2 parcels that they wanted to add because they're adding on to their facility to the tune of about 7.2 million and about 42 jobs out there. And so we're looking to expand the boundaries of the enterprise zone along that way too. And then we approved an ordinance regulating camping and unauthorized occupancy on county-owned property. Gotta have another law. So that was our meeting.
Thank you, sir. Public Works,
So it is construction season. Cedarville Road project is moving along. The full depth recognition's been complete. The pavement's been put back down. We're currently waiting on curing for that to proceed. It's about a 2-mile stretch, so things are moving along good there. On Lamb Road, that also, that's cold in place recycling project, 1.5 miles has been also completed. That pavement's been put back down. And Thursday, we were given the green light to go ahead and seal the road. That you get a real coarse pavement, and by sealing it, it takes all those porous pockets and removes them. So the first lift is being done today. I noticed it driving by it earlier. So that's good. And then after that's done, they've got 7.5 miles of other seal coating that the county will be doing throughout the county. So that's good too. The big news there out of our committee was we did go into executive session and discuss salary schedules outside of the executive session. The proposal did pass our committee, so we'll be moving on to full board on Wednesday evening. So
that's it. Thank you, sir. Anything else? Anybody? Yes, sir.
Couple things on the nursing center. You touched on almost all of it, but I just wanted to drill down a little bit more. If everybody has not reviewed the LOI, please do so. If you have edits or recommendations, please bring those with you on Wednesday night to discuss. My hope is that we pass that along and get that process moving. In the matrix reports that were presented on Friday morning, there's $327,616 in accounts receivables that they're recommending to be charged off, written off as uncollectible. That's substantial. The treasurer sent out an email Saturday. I hope everyone has had a chance to read that as well. We've not paid Matrix yet in 2025, just so everybody knows. And their bills are due 30 days after receiving them. They have not been paid 1 penny. Everybody knows why, right? We're not making any money. We're barely covering payroll. Healthcare services or food service with what was approved Friday morning was $270,000. Now it's $331,000 past due. The previous food vendor, which has been gone 2+ years, we still owe $70,000 to. The staffing agencies, Employer Solutions, $242,000. Ethical nurse staffing, $207,000. Stephenson County Liability Fund, $192,000. Stephenson County Social Security Fund, $160,000. Matrix is $107,000. It's just 5 or 6 vendors that we have. There's 8 vendors that are currently threatening to eliminate service, discontinue, or litigation, or both. So I'm seeing signs around town, out in the country. I'm hearing Jody Cost and Ed Klein tell people that there is no crisis and this is all manufactured.
Yeah.
It's all just fake.
Okay, nah.
So you guys all know this, but I'm just asking, please make sure you've looked at everything, that you go through the treasurer's email, understand where we're at, look at the LOI. Apparently retirement TV, the service is gonna be suspended on the 17th, which is what, tomorrow? It's a low priority on the list of this massive list of vendors, unfortunately. There's $28,000 available right now, I want to say, in excess cash. However, we're about 30,000 short for payroll, which will be a week from Friday. Now, there's most likely going to be some deposits coming in between now and then to at least cover payroll, but probably not Matrix, probably not the food service, probably not the staffing agencies. You know, I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but it's about as dire as it possibly gets.
Exactly.
And if the food service pulls out, and I know I'm a broken record about this, if the food service vendor pulls out and we can't get a third one to come in, we're gonna have to move residents. They've gotta be fed, and they've gotta be fed correctly. Not like the administrator said 3 or 4 of them ago, where I'll just go buy McDonald's. That doesn't work. I mean, it is a crisis. It's absolutely a crisis. I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but I'm hoping others will see this as well on YouTube, board members, and understand how dire this situation really is.
Yes, sir.
What is our situation with the administrator who sell this?
The administrator himself, he's still here.
But if we don't own it anymore,
Oh, I
They
did
wanna
ask,
keep them.
I did ask
they
the
are.
other
Okay.
company what their thoughts were with the employees out there, especially the administrator, because I do believe he's probably one of the better ones that we've had.
Mhm.
And their intent is to keep everyone. They need employees.
Right.
They don't have an
Great.
administrator sitting off on the side waiting to come here. So, yeah, as long as
Great.
he's doing what they expect him to do, I would expect everybody keeps their jobs. And even better than that, all the residents get to stay.
Yeah, Steve, I would say if you have a chance to review the video from the meeting the other night, I was very impressed. And I think out of anything we could have asked for in terms of a company to come in and buy this, you've got 2 experienced people that have been in this industry for a long time. They know what they're doing. Their intention is to buy this place and see it
Turn it
go
around.
well.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know, they want to do well with it. So again, you can't guarantee anything. We don't know what's gonna, once they own it, right? We can't
Mhm.
force their hand in any way after that point. But it seems like their intentions are very good. They're both professional people that you know, the gal was a PhD, you know, in business and stuff, so they know their stuff. They aren't people that are gonna be running the, I don't wanna say that, you know, fly by night operation or anything. It seems like they have very good
They want to build it
intentions.
out. They want to build it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
It's perfect.
it's, to me, I'm very thankful, you know, they're looking at saving, you know, there was a committee member that all he wanted to do was complain about the fact we're not gonna get the AR now. I'm like, so what? We're saving $150,000 if we do it this way instead of getting a broker. So we're pocketing that money and we get all our debt paid off. You know, I mean, at this point, I don't know how we do it, because if we don't do something, and that same person wanted to go back to something TCM supposedly is proposing, and I just about laughed out loud. I'd no sooner jump out this window right now than do that. And did I say that in public? Sorry.
Well,
The window won't open,
as
don't
we
worry.
know,
Okay,
AR doesn't mean we're actually gonna get it.
right.
That's correct.
So,
Well,
But we're writing off
right,
$327,000.
exactly.
Yeah.
So you can say all
That's
you
over
want.
4
It's
months.
a tough business, guys, and it's not something the county should be in anymore. I'm sorry. That's the bottom
It's
line.
not mandated.
No,
And just one last thing, this is not a private equity firm.
yes,
They have no ties to private equity.
right.
And just so you know, private equity firms probably wouldn't look at a home our size because they're
Nope.
looking at 500 to 1,000 or more beds.
Yeah. Right.
There's not a lot of money to be made at this home. And it's evident, right?
Right.
I did watch the meeting on YouTube. and
Yeah.
They sound highly qualified.
All right, well, Mr. Bush isn't here, so who would like to make the adjournment motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I wanted to reiterate a thank you for all of you guys coming at this time today. I really, really do appreciate that. So I
Next
don't have
month,
to be
we
driving.
move it to yet another time, so it's harder to keep track of.
Yeah, we can do it too next month, maybe. I don't know what you think.
As long as it's during the day, I really.
I got a lot of folks
I
going
did-
to there today.
Me too, and I haven't.